Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with a new recording of, what is it? Die Winterreise. Yeah, that jolly song cycle by Schubert, sung by baritone Andrè Schuen and played at the piano by Daniel Heide. Yes, and they're very good. I mean, Andrè Schuen did a beautiful Schönemüllerin and a lovely Schwanengesang. This, I don't know. I feel that I should like it better than I do. And I think I've managed to figure out the reason, having listened to it like 10 or 20 times already. I've been doing a Winterreise fest. It's kind of amazing, actually, that a piece that's so bleak and kind of depressing can actually be so invigorating to listen to. It's like Mahler's Sixth that way. You know, there's something about the inevitability of it all and the beauty, of course, and the emotional depth that just sort of purges you as you listen to it. It's just an incredible piece of music. It really is. And I'm not a leader guy, as I've said a million times. But there are a couple, let's talk about the good stuff first, and then a couple little quibbly things that I have here. This guy, Schuen, he has a gorgeous voice. I mean, his voice is so beautiful. Sometimes that can be a disadvantage. It can be a disadvantage when you're trying to sound tragic. It's not that he can't sound tragic. And again, we'll get to that in a minute. But he has an absolutely gorgeous voice. And when the music allows him to break out into, like, you know, a real Geschrei there, like in Frühlingstraum or Wasserflute, or some of those Wasserflute. That really sounds one of those Wasserflute, a flood. I don't know, whatever it is. You know what I mean, the flood thing. He really just sounds amazing. And you can tell that's what he really likes to do. I mean, to be able to sing in just this full-throated, effortless, powerful, virile kind of way. It's marvelous. I mean, I have to say the picture is kind of gross. I mean, looks like he really needs a shower, but it's okay. I mean, it gets the point across, doesn't it? Anyway, he just has a magnificent voice, and that's fine as far as it goes. But when he has to sing softly, when he has to sing quietly, it sounds like he is pushing it, like he's affecting a pose. It doesn't have the naturalness, the abandon, obviously, of the loud bits, but you need to have a certain simplicity of utterance in the softer passages, in Einsamkeit, or whatever that thing is at the end of part one, and I just found Nebensonnen and things like that. Those Die Nebensonnen. That's what it is. Yes, it was Einsamkeit. I'm so happy I got it right. My German is, not what it used to be. There are beautiful, beautiful moments throughout. And I think part of the problem also is that this is one of the slower performances of Winterreise out there. It takes 77 minutes. 75 isn't uncommon, and 69 to 70, I think, is probably ideal. But just a few seconds slower at each song, you wouldn't think it makes much of a difference. But it does in terms of the vocalism. It does in terms of his ability to express quieter, softer emotions. By stretching it out, he has to hold on to the notes longer, and you begin to hear a certain crooning quality to the voice. Also, he has a thing about rolling his R's, which he does marvelously. Oh my goodness, can he roll an R? But, when the dogs are knurring, whatever they're doing, and they're Leiermann, they really knurr like that. I mean, it's marvelous. But at times, at slow tempos, where you have to roll and roll and roll, it becomes almost an affectation. Like one of those 1920s German cabaret singers, or in the Threepenny Opera, der Haifisch, der hat Zähne, that kind of thing. You know what I mean? It's leader style. It's one of the things I dislike about leader style. It reduces, it minimizes what I think ought to be a certain simplicity of delivery that these songs have. And this is particularly true in Der Leiermann, in the very last song, because my feeling about the last song, and this is me, it's not always an interpretation, is that it really needs to be almost metronomic, because the guy's just sitting there cranking out the thing with the same do 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 do, and so it has to be very rhythmic. And here, the Heide futzes around with the piano part all over the place, with little hesitations and little doodads, and he's, sort of whispering and crooning and knorring and whatnot. And when you get, it's not that it's not expressive. There is a style of lieder singing that goes for this sort of thing, and he does it beautifully. So I'm not criticizing it entirely on that basis. It's a question of personal taste. It's going to be a question of your personal taste. I just find this Winterreise to be just a little too droopy and just a little bit affected in the softer, more inward moments. He's saying to us, hey, listen to how inward I can be here. And I don't want to hear that. I just want to hear the inwardness. I don't want to know, the Innigkeit, the Innigkeiteliciousness. I mean, it ought to just be there. It shouldn't be something where he's making a point. So, what is the bottom line with this? It is beautifully recorded. It is beautifully sung. It is beautifully played. It's an interpretation. It's a fully formed interpretation of great seriousness. But I'm not quite sure that he pulls it off. I mean, I'm very curious to know what some of you think, people who are more into the lieder universe than I am. Because there's a repertoire video of Winterreise coming up that has my personal favorite recordings and what I think the best of them are. And we'll have a more in-depth discussion of the work, I think, at that point. But I'm very curious. We talked about artists who later make recordings, and the remakes have a greater simplicity and naturalness than the first versions. I would be very curious to see what happens to Schuen later in his career, to see if he can turn in a performance of this with his beautiful, beautiful voice that has a little bit more of that basic simplicity of approach. And then we might have something really super special. As it is, this is lovely. And if you've been collecting his Schönemüllerin and Schwanengesang, of course, you should get this and you should listen to it. I mean, I enjoyed listening to it. I really did. But at the same time, there was a distancing effect that I really don't want to hear. And this of all works. You just want to be completely taken up by it. And I wasn't. So that may just be me. And tell me how it is with you. I'm really curious to know. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me. Take care.